Business with a servant's heart. Welcome to the podcast. Inspiration, motivation takes. Listen to the podcast. We're all about to talk about life. Our guests will share their life story. We want you to success in life and business. We're ready and we will start shortly. We're gonna talk about life. We're going to speak on business. You're gonna shine bright. We are going to witness. Business with a servant's heart. With hosts Steve, Ramon, and Ray. Inspiration, education talks. Listen to the podcast.
Welcome, everyone, to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart podcast. I'm your host, Steve Ramona. I am so fired up to have you join us today. We dedicated this podcast exploring the idea of doing life and business with a servant's heart. What happens? You bring impact and change and difference to somebody's world. Imagine doing that every day or once a week even, changing somebody's life and helping them. And I'm not talking about giving them $1 million. It could be helping a lady put groceries in her car. Doing that is a servant's heart. It makes a difference in people's lives. We also want our guests, and they're going to do this. My guest today, by the way, we've talked for about 10 minutes. He's going to blow you away. We want everyone to be motivated, inspired, and educated to make the impact and difference in your world. And you're going to learn a lot today about housing, which is going to be beautiful. I'm so excited. Here's your call to action. I want you to think about how you're going to serve yourself and others today and what impact you're going to create today. Let's not wait. People tell me all the time, I heard you say that, Steve, and I waited a month. Start today. Listen to my incredible guest, and let's get it going. Today's episode is sponsored by our Pantheon Alliance. Join a community of high-income entrepreneurs and business leaders to create a world-changing thought leader platform to help grow your business. For more information on that, just reach out to me, and I'll get you all set up. With that being said, I want to welcome to our show Harrison Stevens. Welcome, my friend.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So we have TurboTenant. Love the name, by the way. Didn't tell you before the show. It just means a lot. What you do is, we'll say that phrase you told me before the show, what you guys do.
Yeah, we make it really hard to be a bad landlord for your tenants. We really focus on providing software and tools to make it so that you can be a better landlord. And better landlords have better tenants, and better tenants and landlords have more successful businesses.
And we talked, I'm a property owner, so we had a great conversation. Property managers can be expensive and dealing with people, and sometimes people don't want to do that. How do you make it better than having a property manager, an actual human?
So, we're building software that allows you to manage a property yourself. The average landlord on our platform owns 1, 2, 3 properties. There are people like you and me that this is kind of either something that they stumbled into, they owned the house and they moved and decided to rent it out, or they bought a property to rent out for extra income or retirement. We're not talking about moguls and real estate moguls. We're talking about everyday people. And the software that we provide is technically free to use. We can actually allow you to use the platform for free and find a tenant, do a background check, and the tenant will pay for the background check, collect rent, and the tenant can pay the fee. But we also have a subscription that starts at $119 a year for unlimited properties and scales up a little bit more than that. But that price is a fraction of the cost of what it would cost to work with a property manager. And we believe, one, let's make it affordable for the average person, that they don't have to charge so much more for rent to make it work and pass it on to the tenant. But two, if they decide to buy their next property, we're not going to punish them for being successful. We're going to make it even better for them and make it easier. So our platform allows you to find tenants, which is kind of where the name came from. And we, you list a property on our site, we syndicate it out, place it on all the different major listing sites that most of you are familiar with searching for already. And then once someone finds your property, they apply, they fill out an application. You like them, they do a background check. That's all facilitated through the platform. We write leases for you. No matter where your property is in the United States, we have a lease agreement for your state or city or county, depending on where you are. Some of them are really specific, and we update those regularly. If you sign a lease with us, you know it's up to date. You don't have to worry about being an attorney or hiring one. Let us do that. And then once you find that tenant, they're moving in, pay rent through us. We can automate it. The tenant can pay through credit card, through debit card, or bank account. And then the biggest part of being a landlord, honestly, making sure they stay there. So communications, maintenance requests, we have a lot of other features that we build on a regular basis to make it so that it's really easy to be a landlord and it's standardized. When the software does the same thing every time, it's consistent and we know it works. And we're over 700,000 landlords now using the software. We have a lot of feedback on what works and what needs to be improved. And we get better every day by getting that feedback and making adjustments.
Okay, if you're a landlord listening, I'm going to repeat this. Free, first of all, but if you want the package, 119 a year, not a month, still be worth that. I probably shouldn't say it, but what the value you're bringing, your landlord, 119 a year, and there's upgrades, and audience, I'm buying it. It's done. I've already told them, because what I think with any business, that servant heart problem is communication.
Yeah.
And I think the servant heart gets cut off a lot because of miscommunication. Talk about how you guys help with that.
Yeah, and I actually have a pretty good and bad story for this one. I had a rental property from where I'm from in Florida, and we moved to Colorado, and we had a tenant for 5 years. And every once in a while, I'd hear from them, and basically every 4 to 6 months, I get a message of some sort, and that's what managing a property is. And that message never comes at the right time, but that's what you'd be paying a property manager to field those 2 questions. But what I learned after they moved out is they were reaching out to me on WhatsApp, which I don't use. And all of a sudden, it's all these asks of things that I could have fixed in a day. Took them 3 months to call me. And honestly, it just made me sad. That's something that was really disappointing. I could have fixed this problem by making a phone call, and the next day it would have been solved for them. But they were communicating on the wrong platform. With TurboTenant, everything happens on the platform, including communications. So you can use our website, but also our tenants can have an app, and they can message like they would message anybody else. And everything is stored. And that communication is really valuable. And that same tenant, I asked for the 2 mailbox keys after 5 years, and he said I only gave him 1. Well, somewhere 5 years ago, there's a text message chain that I can't find that clearly stated there were 2. Fortunately, he found the second one and no problems there, but it was like a hold my breath moment of, am I going to get into an argument with a tenant that's been great over a key for 5 years? And fortunately, problem solved, no issue, but everything is stored on our platform for longevity, as long as you have that relationship. So everything is tracked, all communication is in the same place, expectations are the same thing. And every time someone pays rent on the platform, we ask, how's it going? And that feedback that goes to the landlord every month could be the difference between a leaky toilet or a completely flooded bathroom 3 months later. And when that communication is consistent, and that gives just a better line of opportunity for the landlord to be a good landlord by just knowing what's going on and having a comfortable place for the tenant to say something.
Yeah. And I like that, because that's the thing. If a lot of people have been tenants. I don't know if you have, I know I have, and I am today. The communication is so important that it's right. It just makes all the difference in the world. So let's go on the other side of the landlord problem. My tenant leaves, and I'm like, okay, I've got this X amount of dollars that I'm losing. How does your software help with that and helps solve that problem of getting somebody back in fast?
So when you list the property on TurboTenant, we syndicate it out to all the biggest sites. Apartments.com is a big partner of ours, Redfin. Craigslist is actually one of the largest sources of leads for us for our landlords, which it's kind of wild, but still really popular. People are searching. We're pretty agnostic. We'll work with everybody, and all of those leads come into the platform. More leads, the better. If you get 1 person, they could be good or bad. If you get 20, you have more of a choice on who you do. And, then you background check them. You can verify their income if you're a paying member. You can do all the things that you can make sure that this is the right person for your property. And then we streamline the rest. It's all already there for you to kind of just plug along step by step, and we guide you through it. If it's your first property, we have our own podcast called Be a Better Landlord to educate people for free. The more better landlords we have, the more success we're going to have. And it's cyclical for us. Whenever we see people succeed, we know that they're going to keep the tenant next year, which means they're going to stick around in our software, which means we can build a better product for them next year.
And take the word slumlord out of the vernacular. That's important to me, and for everybody. It's because more people are buying rental properties. So you told me a stat before the show, something about a redhead. I don't remember the stat. Can you tell me that? I think it's a powerful message.
Yeah, it's something my CEO has kind of coined, but it's really useful kind of to understand who we're marketing to for TurboTenant, which is 1 in 14 tax-paying adults is a landlord. So if, steal directly from my CEO, if you're standing in line for a coffee, there's a better chance the person next to you is a landlord than a redhead. And I mean, think about it. We know plenty of redheads. We know even more landlords. And it wasn't shocking that you're one either,
Yeah.
There's a lot of landlords in our company. A lot of my friends have eventually become one way or another. It's a pretty easy business to start because it's so clear. We've all been tenants, or most of us have. We know one side of it. The other side is a little more complicated than maybe people recognize, which is where the software we build is for. But the rest of it is just relationship management. And the more you have in writing up front, the better you start that relationship off. There's less surprises. And that's where I think the success is usually determined on the first step of, are you setting expectations clearly from the start? And is everyone on the same page? And when it's in writing, it makes it a little easier to start that way.
So I know a number of people that are subscribers or listen to my podcast are thinking about, excuse me, is a better word, to be landlords, property owners. You got a couple great tips for people, because I know you're a landlord as well, which is very cool for them that are listening.
Yeah, I mean, obviously our software does a lot of it, but if I think starting with the right lease and background checking the person that you're going to work with is really important. That's factual information and legal information that just sets the precedent of, what needs to happen in this relationship. You pay rent on time. Are there late fees? Are there certain things that can avoid problems for you if things don't happen? It also protects the tenants. You're setting an equal relationship from the start of what the expectations are. If you do that, that's where the really big headaches become minor headaches. They're still headaches. That's really, really important. And then just making sure that they're happy and you're supporting them and they'll pay rent on time is usually what we see on our platform. We do have, automatic late fees and stuff like that, but it rarely applies. Most of the tenants on our platform are paying on time happily. And, the background check part really weeds out the people that are probably not the right fit for your property.
And great relationships help people pay on time. It's just they're comfortable with you. You're comfortable with them. Do you also do credit checks? I've been told by other property owners credit checks are important.
We do. We use a partner that checks credit and background check, and then also for paying members can go into income verification. And you can get a pretty clear picture of who this person is. That doesn't tell the whole story. People are not always just their credit score, but it can get you in a cover area of this person has not paid their credit cards in months. That's a pretty big red flag. Or this person is rebuilding their credit and has been great for 2 years. That might be a good story for you. It just depends on what you're comfortable with. But you know what you're getting yourself into on paper, at least.
Yeah. Real estate is always behind on technology. I know a lot of realtors. It's amazing to me because there's so much. It's just an industry. It does that. What do you see the future of technology with real estate and landlords and property owners?
Yeah, I mean, the big question, and I talk about this a lot, my sister's a realtor, is just the changes in the way that buyer agreements and buyer agents and selling agents with the NAR, National Associated Realtor. They had some changes that are slowly impacting. I'm certainly curious and watching. I don't think I'm qualified to estimate what's going to happen there. But I think technology that we're building and a lot of other companies are building in their own kind of tracks is just getting smarter and smarter and easier to use. And I know we're investing a lot in AI for the right parts of the business. There's a lot of real estate listing fraud. And that was one of the first things that we dove into with AI. Someone posts a fake property on, one of the big listing sites, and it's not real, and you pay first month, last month, and security deposit, and that property disappears. That's a huge loss to you as a tenant. And every property that goes through our platform goes through our AI and has a manual check as well. That's something that we take really seriously. That's a huge loss to an individual if they lose about 3 months of rent on average. So that's something that we invested in AI years ago on, and that's a differentiator for sure. Something else is just, can we take the day-to-day annoyances and make it simpler with AI? It's something we were talking about earlier of, tenant calls, my toilet's leaking. Well, have you done anything about it? Our AI could help with that. That's what we're looking at building right now. Did you turn off the water? Did you open up the back of the tank and see, is that ball floating or not? Is the chain working? Let's do some triage. Last time my tenant had a problem, it was triage and they solved the problem themselves and they were happy. That's all they care, is the toilet works. And if it works immediately, even better. Can we do all that stuff with AI and just ask the questions and triage it? And I think the bulk of the time, the answer is probably yes. And if the answer is no, can we collect enough information so the landlord can hand that information in a nice package over to, in this instance, a plumber? That plumber can go in and know exactly what they're getting themselves into, bring the right tools, and make the job fast. Yeah. If the job is fast, usually you pay by the hour. That saves you maybe an hour. Also, the tenant's happy. The plumber's only there for an hour. Those are really good things for everybody. And really cost effective for us to build an AI that could do it. So those are some of the things that we're thinking about, is how can we make every step just a little easier? And I think there's a lot of other companies in the real estate sector that are trying to do the same thing. AI is easy to work with and low cost. Making it good is a whole other conversation. Yeah. But the barrier to start is low. And I think they're going to see a lot of that coming out over the next year of just technology trying to streamline different small parts of the business in real estate. And certain things will get a lot easier. And like most things, certain things will get probably more complicated. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, no, that's a great answer. I love that. And a hopeful answer too, which we always want to hope with technology. We just never know where it's going to go. We just got to be careful. Talk about your podcast. We're coming to the end here. Talk about the podcast. I know you mentioned it briefly, but I think it's a powerful podcast.
Yeah, we have two. One of them is Be a Better Landlord. The other one is Adventures in Landlording. The Adventures in Landlording is just wild stories that we kind of laugh about and then talk about how we would handle it or advice. But the one that you're asking about that I think is much more powerful is a Be a Better Landlord podcast. It's on YouTube, and then we're on streaming as well. And there's a lot of things that software just isn't going to solve. And educating people for free is how we can really make an impact in our industry. And what we've always been excited and passionate about. Our founder was a real estate educator as a part-time job. He was actually an air traffic controller as a full-time job. Wow. So how does he have the time? So education is a core part of our business, and we educate throughout the software as we go. But the podcast is, how to deal with an emotional support animal situation. Like, what can you do? What should you ask? How can you verify? Because there's a lot of non-verifiable emotional support animal situations that come up a lot. How do you deal with that? How do you deal with Section 8 housing? Should you? How do you deal with student housing? There's a lot of landlords on our platform that are buying places in college towns, and we're great for that because mom and dad often pay with a credit card on our platform for the kids. There's a good opportunity there, but there's things that you need to know and surprises that we hear about that we can walk you through what we've learned, seen, and researched to make sure that you have as much information as possible to be a better landlord. Because as I said, good landlords is how everyone wins. And that's what we truly believe.
And you mentioned something great about TurboTenant is the fact a parent or a second person's paying somebody's rent. It's much easier than Zelling it and where did it come from. That's a big thing. So if you're out there paying for people's rent, tell your landlord to get TurboTenant, because I'm getting it. It's the second time I mentioned it. People go, "Oh, you're promoting." I'm promoting because did you hear him say he said free 4 times? 4 times. We're going to educate free. I'm going to mention again, free. A servant heart does that because we want the whole industry to be better, not just TurboTenant. And that's somebody I love to align myself with. So I really appreciate that, Harrison. We've come to the end here, or coming close to the end. Let's have a fun little improv. You ready? I want to learn more about you.
All right.
So I've reserved a table at a restaurant of 4. You can obviously sit in one of the chairs. Who would you invite, dead or alive? Why are you inviting them to the dinner? But what food would you order?
So first, I mean, the good answer is my wife, but the fantasy answer, which is where you're probably getting to. So
we could do an extra chair for your wife. So let's bring that extra chair.
She's my first choice. She's
happy wife, happy life. We just got to remember that.
Yeah. So I'm from Miami, and I grew up a big Heat fan. And my favorite player of all time is Alonzo Mourning, who's now part of the executive team. But, really young, he was the star along with Tim Hardaway. This is a long time ago. And that was like my first introduction to really basketball. That was like who I grew up. And then later he comes back and we win our first championship. And his story of kidney disease, like really impactful to me. And he just helped win that first championship. I remember where I was sitting. This is a long time ago now. Like I remember every part of that series. Impactful part of my young adulthood, and really impactful person, not only to the organization, just as a person. Love to have him sit next to me, looking up at him the whole time. But that would be a really fun one. I mean, what to order? Can ever go wrong with a steak? I'm always a fan of that, or sushi. Those are the kind of the go-tos for where I like to eat, but I am a big foodie, so I could probably go on for a while on that one. But that would be a really fun one, just basketball, his journey. And now he's an executive on the team. Like just the transition from player to that would be really fascinating to learn more about. And the week before I got married, I was actually at a pool and he walked by and that like made my day. I yelled, "Go Heat." That's the little fanboy in me.
Yeah, that happens to us sports guys. And that's surf and turf. Now I realize that's surf and turf, even though it's sushi, a little surf and turf. So you got 2 more chairs that are empty. Who else would you invite?
Oh man, I wasn't prepared for the second half of that.
I know.
I mean, I'd probably go. I'd probably go more sports related. I also grew up a Panthers fan. And Scott Mellenby was the year of the rat for me as a kid. Like going back to my childhood, a lot of that stuff would be really good. And probably go Dwayne Wade too. Just go sports. It'd be a really fun sports one. Pat Riley, another good choice.
Let's add a 4th chair. Mine's not. A lot of stories coming out from the championship, I'm sure, from those guys.
Yeah, that's probably where I go. I mean, I'm a competitive guy, and sports is in my background, and that would be a really fun dinner for me.
And Tim Hardaway played for the Warriors where I'm at, so I might want to sit there and ask him a Warrior question. So we'd have fun eating surf and turf and a little sushi. Yeah. Harrison, I want to thank your CEO for me and thank you as being the vice president. You guys have a business and there's value and you need income from that, but you really are serving people, helping people, and helping the industry. I thank you so much. I know people listening are going, "Hey, I want to be a property manager," or "I have a property. How can I connect or support Harrison?"
Yeah, I mean, go to turbotenant.com, sign up for free, and that will certainly support the company in different ways, but it'll support you equally or more. I mean, that's the whole point of the software. And that's what feels great is, adding 400 plus landlords a day that are all going to get some sort of value. And then all of their tenants are going to get more value. Like the impact is exponential. And that's what's exciting to me. That's where my own experience as a landlord, which have been good, but those things are going to get better and better every time someone uses our software or uses any of our education. That's the whole point, is to just make it so that people are successful.
And, we should support philanthropic businesses, but we also should support servant businesses. That's what TurboTenant is. Support them. I'm signing up, and here's a little contest. I'm going to sign up right after this show. I want emails or DM me on LinkedIn or whatever you find me that you signed up as well for the free version. Now, you don't have to pay for it. He's got a free version, but please pay for it, because I will be beginning of the year. But do that. And here's the other call to action for you. That's not a contest. It's subscribe to the YouTube channel, but not for the reason you think. Here's the power of podcasting. Harrison just did a great job of talking about the pain points being a landlord and different things that happen that I've experienced as a landlord. Well, you're listening, you're going, God, I just talked to my cousin Thanksgiving. We're December 3rd right now, and he's just struggling with his landlord, being a landlord and his tenants. Guess what? Take this link on YouTube and share it with him, going, hey, I just listened to Harrison from TurboTenant. You need to hear this guy. He's got some great resources. What did you do? You just gave him a Christmas gift on December 3rd. We all love early Christmas gifts, but that's the power of podcasting, I believe, is you're serving them. And imagine they connect and sign up for TurboTenant, and you've helped them. That goes so many ways. So get that link out, subscribe, take care of your people, or my people. If you want to take care of my people too, that'd be great. And as always, me and Harrison want to thank you so much for watching or listening to this podcast. And we'll see you on the next episode of Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. Have a great day, everyone.